Tommy Key. Let you take over.
Thank you. How you doing? So I'm Tommy Key, designer and illustrator based here in Notts. And I'm going to be chatting to you guys today about design, illustration, breaking into the industry, and my creative journey. So I'm just going to kick off with the work that I'm creating at the minute, so my current role. So hopefully you guys know what Uni Days is. Lots of nods, that's good. I'm still in a job. If you don't know, download the app, first of all. And secondly, it's it's essentially a student app full of discounts, experiences, different services, giveaways. So definitely worth having if you're a student. And so I work as a creative designer at Uni Days, which is essentially a graphic design job. You'll see in the industry it's named a few different things, from like digital designer, senior designer, graphic designer, but we're calling it creative design. So I've been with Uni Days for coming up to 6 years now, and I love the work I get to create there, and the company is really cool to work for. So here's a couple of examples of the work that I get to create for Uni Days. So I work as part of an in-house creative studio here in Nottingham, where the head office is, and work alongside other creative designers, junior designers, art workers, copywriters, motion team, junior designers, and it's kind of an ever-growing team, really, as we get more work in. But although it's an in-house job, it definitely has like a creative agency feel, as we kind of have loads of different partners and brands that we work with, for example, Nike, and the briefs are always different and to different budgets, so it definitely has that agency feel. So there's a lot of creativity and a varied design approach to the work I do at Uni Days, from kind of like animation work to typography treatments to kind of lifestyle imagery. Every brief is different, every project's varied, so it's kind of a great range of work I get to create. So as a creative designer at Uni Days, the day-to-day work I create is kind of campaign work, which is the kind of key events that fall on the marketing calendar. So from like the big ones like Freshers, Student Woman of the Year, to some of the smaller ones like Code Craze and National Pizza Day. And I'm kind of involved in the process from start to finish. So from receiving the brief from marketing to kind of kicking it off, concept creation, ideation, right the way through to kind of the final design deliverables. So it's not just creating designs for the app in my job. So there's always different considerations in terms of kind of creative output. So for app, social, email. And some of the things that you don't see as an app user, so some of the out-of-home events. So we get to, this was from a campus event we did in Paris a couple of years ago. So we got to design all the kind of print work for this event, including like van wraps and posters and big kind of billboard signage, which is cool. Also get to do some more internal pieces, so business-to-business work. So this is kind of creating presentations for other teams in the business that they then go on to kind of sell different packages into our partners and brands. And then also there's some kind of more light-hearted fun jobs that I get to do internally, such as creating a set of ideation cards for the creative team to kind of kickstart ideas during campaigns. I just wanted to show you one of my favorite projects I've worked on recently for Black Friday 2022. So this is kind of a project I'm really proud of, because when I kind of kicked it off, most of my mood boards and inspiration was definitely kind of animation heavy, and I am no way an animator. I'd love to be, but my kind of experience in animation goes as far as creating small little GIFs in Photoshop. So I wanted to challenge myself with this one, and it kind of definitely suited the brief, bringing like that excitement and urgency, and we really wanted to kind of cut through the noise of Black Friday, which you generally see a lot of kind of blacked out designs, everything kind of gaming, digital themes. So bringing these illustrations to life was something that's going to stand us out from the crowd. So this is on the job. I kind of created all the visuals in 2D and then just YouTube the hell out of it whilst I was working. Set myself the challenge and kind of winged it on the job. But it all worked out in the end, and a project I'm always going to be super proud of. So aside from working at uni days, on the side I do freelance work, which is predominantly illustration-based. That's kind of my main passion in terms of design, and it's the area of design that kind of kick-started my creative career as well. So these are a few examples of the work that I create. It's definitely taken me a long time to develop my style and produce something that I'm totally happy with. But I'm always kind of looking to improve and develop my skills as well. But on the whole, I try and create kind of really playful, colourful, fun designs, lots of characters. I don't want to take myself too seriously, just want to have fun and create work that I enjoy myself. So I work on a range of different projects, self-initiated briefs mainly. So kind of from album art to posters. I sell prints on Etsy as well. I always like to have, if I don't have any freelance work coming in, I like to kind of keep the ideas flowing and kind of scratch that illustration itch as much as I can. So this could be like just a small doodle in my sketchbook that never sees the light of day, or something like setting myself a project for a pizza-based pizzeria that doesn't even exist, but definitely should. And also, if I don't have any work coming in, there's a little kind of my go-to for creating some work, which is, if anyone knows the website Dribble, with an extra B, they do like a weekly warm-up, which is like a little brief they send out that you can be part of. So the one I did not so long ago was to design my favorite crisp packet as a kid, which is obviously Frazzles, the best out there. So I don't actively seek out freelance opportunities having a full-time job, although I would do. So I kind of rely on word of mouth or people seeing my work online. And then every now and again I get approached and a real fun brief kind of comes my way. So this is a project I worked on a couple of years ago for a brand called Dawn Chorus. It was a startup company run by my friend. Like a healthy lifestyle company that would sell 100% vegan products. So this was kind of a new one for me. My experience in freelance was definitely just kind of designing a spot illustration or a poster or a flyer, that kind of thing. So this one, I was kind of challenged to design the whole brand from start to finish, including all the illustrations, packaging design, web design, everything like that. So yeah, I set out and had to kind of come up with a logo, a color palette, design all the kind of icons as well, and just everything that was involved from the start to finish. So including things like a huge illustration piece, which was going to be printed and sent out with every order, and kind of the main products, which was the food ones here, and also got to design some merch as well. So yeah, this was a great project to work on, just to see how it was built from start to finish, and just to have something tangible at the end is always nice. And seeing your designs on Amazon is also quite a cool one as well. Oh, there we go. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of rewind it back now, right to the beginning, where I started out, and talk you through my design journey. So as you know, there's kind of so many different paths you can take in this industry, and it can definitely be overwhelming and daunting to know which is the right one for you. I'd say my path isn't the most kind of traditional one or straightforward one. You know, lots of ups and downs, the oh shit moments, the not having a clue what's going on, but kind of looking back now, it's all kind of positive learnings, and these experiences have kind of shaped my design career and also the designer that I am today. So right from the start, I was always into drawing, always creative. Even as an 8-year-old, I had an eye for detail, as you can see with my gappy teeth and slick gelled hair. And just always kind of creating art anywhere I could, drawing my favorite TV characters. Definitely like album art, skate logos was also one that I always go to. But I mean, as a young kid, never kind of considered this as a career because I just wanted to be a fireman or a footballer. So this is kind of my introduction into graphic design here. So my first kind of taste of graphic design was when I was back in school in year 10, and I got a work experience place at a graphic design company in Birmingham, which seemed really exciting at the time. I think it was just being away from home kind of excited me mainly because the job itself wasn't exactly thrilling. I was kind of sat next to a couple of dudes that were creating a brochure for the city council, and I was just watching them do it. So it wasn't the most exciting, but it definitely didn't put me off, and it kind of sparked an interest. So then I went on to study graphic communication at A-level, which I absolutely loved. My course was brilliant. It was super creative. There was exciting briefs. My teacher was really passionate, and that kind of like opened up the whole world of design for me. Just from like making my own typeface to like experiencing different print techniques, learning Photoshop, which was a great point to start this out. And just like exploring my creativity and seeing how far I could push my design style. Moving on to uni, this was kind of a bit of an up and down one for me, to be honest. I kind of had it in my head when I was younger that to get a job in the industry, I had to go to uni. I'm sure loads of people kind of feel the same as well. And I was definitely influenced by kind of all my friends going at the time. So I think ultimately it probably wasn't the right choice for me. But I did end up going to study graphic design in Sheffield. And initially I was completely buzzing, just being away from home, meeting new people, exploring a new city, the nightlife, the social life was wicked. And I was really excited to kind of get stuck into my course. And I think at the start it was great. Just being around kind of like-minded people, bouncing ideas off each other was really cool. But then it got to a point where I wasn't really feeling inspired. The briefs weren't grabbing me. And in all honesty, I found it hard to kind of balance my social life and my study life. Like I said, I don't think I was quite ready to go to uni at that age. I was very naive back then. So in the second year, I made the decision to drop out and leave uni, which was really tough for me. I felt like a total failure. I was worried what my parents were going to say, if they were going to be super disappointed. And I just thought, ultimately I wasn't going to be able to get a job in the industry because in my head I was relying on that degree to get me my graphic design job once I left uni. So at this point, I kind of looked into different options, thought about different courses. I even looked at like an illustration course, but at the time, this was years ago, obviously there's loads now, but there was only 2 options and they were both down south, and I kind of wanted to stay up north, so I didn't go for those in the end. So I was feeling lost after dropping out of uni and unsure what to do, so I made a decision to move to Leeds because I had loads of friends there, and I'd visited before and I thought the scene was really kind of creative, had a really great kind of culture as well. And I just wanted a reset really, so moving cities, going somewhere new, that was going to do it for me. I had a few kind of jobs in retail to pay my way, and in my spare time I was just kind of designing and creating any chance I could, and I definitely got my creative mojo and my confidence out. So you can see where I started with my illustration. This was my original style. But I was constantly drawing at this point and just really trying to experiment with different illustrations and design techniques. And I was compiling all these kind of illustrations and drawings together, and in the end decided to kind of put them into these zines, which I'd sell, which I kind of designed, laid out, printed myself, and sold myself. It was all kind of it was very much like a lo-fi production, but I think that kind of added to the charm of it. I'd always be kind of looking on Facebook and Google for where I could sell these zines in shops and that kind of thing, and online. And I started making money from my work, even if it was £3 for a zine. I was chuffed with it that people actually wanted to buy my things, and it kind of, yeah, again, a nice boost of confidence. So another way to get my work out there, I started designing flyers and posters for club nights in Leeds, which was great. Again, to see kind of people having the posters up and people commenting on like positive feedback was great, because I hadn't really had anyone kind of feedback or tell me what my designs were like. I was just kind of doing it for me at this point. So that was really cool. And yeah, at this point, just trying to get my work out anywhere I could. I really wanted to kind of build up a portfolio and just get my work seen out there. So whilst looking for kind of places to sell my zines, I was looking for kind of art fairs and these kind of things. So there was a couple that popped up in Leeds, so I kind of got in on that, and started creating some more kind of printed work. So cards, stickers, more zines, prints, originals as well to sell them. And again, yeah, just really trying to push my work. So I'd kind of submit my work to anywhere I could. If I saw like an online competition or like a magazine that was asking for illustrations, I'd send it in, to zines as well. And there was like a MTV SWAT times Swatch blog. I sent my work to that and got featured on there, which was great. I was just kind of in heavy push mode. Also kind of taking part in live drawing events across like Leeds and Sheffield as well. And just being part of the kind of creative community there was brilliant, and there was so much going on. So yeah, like I said, these art fairs, live drawing fairs, there was all kind of things going on. But I was just trying to have fun with my work and develop a style and a design identity to get me seen and get my work out there. And also lots of posting on Tumblr and Blogspot, as this was obviously pre-Instagram and social. So after a couple of years in Leeds, I started thinking about the next step in my career and how I could kind of get there. I thought about getting like illustrator representation or possibly a junior role in a creative agency. And again, going back to my kind of younger me with the naive thoughts, I thought, hey, I'm going to move to London and I'll get a job easy. I thought all the kind of creative jobs were in London and all the best agencies were in London, which obviously now I know is definitely not the case, as we've got loads going on here in Nottingham and a really cool scene. But I moved to London. I got a job working on the shop floor in Topman, just to, again, pay my way. And in any kind of free time I had, I'd be kind of getting in touch with different agencies and just trying to push my work again. So I carried on that, hammering it in. T-shirt competitions, magazine submissions, more posters and flyers. I started sending out packages to different kind of creative agencies all over London, which would include like my CV, zines, posters, different tote bags, different examples of my work. But unfortunately, not a sniff, no replies to that, which was really kind of disheartening at the time. I thought I was kind of getting somewhere, and definitely didn't take too well to the rejection there. So there was even times where I kind of thought about pursuing a different career, but I didn't know what to do, so I just carried on. And on a trip to Berlin, I kind of visited the city and loved it. It was so super creative. I was visiting loads of galleries and exhibitions and came across a certain gallery. And again, at this time, I was just hammering my work, trying to talk about illustration to anyone and everyone. Got chatting with one of the artists at the gallery, and he told me about an artist residency there they're running. So I took that one on, and as soon as I got back in London, I applied and got accepted to that. So this is the Cuboid Gallery where I was working. And again, this was a really cool experience because it was just working with a total kind of diverse mix of artists from different creative backgrounds. We had people making like woodwork, had sculptors there, a guy making kind of the hippie, trippy art, and medium illustration work. And it was located in a kind of cool area in Berlin where there was loads of creatives coming in and loads of chance for me to kind of chat about my work and get my work sold. So at this point, it was very much like a continuation of what I was doing in London, just working and creating pieces, although at this stage I was just living it 24/7, which is brilliant. All day, every day, creating new pieces, selling my work as well. But as this was like my only source of income out there, I kind of relied on selling my work to kind of scrape the euros together. But it was a great experience in whole. So unfortunately, the residency only lasted for 4 months, so I had to move back to London and return to my job at Topman. But being in Berlin inspired me, and it kind of made me want to run my own exhibitions. Especially as I was really unsure of what I wanted to do with my career, and I think the rejection before definitely like hit me hard. So I kind of thought about pursuing a career in like exhibition design or working in a gallery. So me and my friends set up an artist collective called Neural Collective, and the plan was to specialize in themed events, which we'd put on in London, and we'd also release the work in publications as well. Which was a great experience because for each exhibition we'd invite 20 to 30 artists, kind of new and upcoming and also more renowned artists, to create pieces for us and take part in these exhibitions. So in total we put on 3 different exhibitions. We did a horror show one, Back to the Future, and one based on the cult movie The Warriors. So in the background, whilst I was working at Topman, I was always kind of in touch with different staff members and management and really trying to find any kind of creative opportunities that they had in the business. I'd always kind of hand my flyers out, my posters and zines and stuff, just trying to get my work out there. And because I was working in the kind of flagship Oxford Circus store, they had a in-house creative team, like above the shop. And a graphic design job came up at Topman. At first, I didn't want to apply because in the spec, it was asking for a degree in a design-related subject and experience in this and that, and I just thought, I'm ticking none of those boxes, but I kind of built up the courage and went for it. I was upfront about my experience at uni, which they were really cool with, and I think they were really impressed in the kind of different creative fields I'd worked in over the last few years. So yeah, I was absolutely buzzing at this point to land like my first proper design job. And as graphic designer in-house, I was kind of tasked with coming up with all the concepts and the in-store graphics for the London stores, which kind of played into my strength of print design, which I'd kind of learned and picked up along the way of creating my own work. And there was definitely challenges along the way. Another one of the specs in the job description was to work in Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, which I never had worked in before, and I kind of blagged it a little bit. So again, lots of kind of YouTubing on the job, but I always made it work, and that was kind of a game changer for me because at this stage, all my kind of design work and illustration was kind of rough pen to paper work and then scanned in and kind of tweaked on Photoshop. But once I learned Illustrator, I started kind of experimenting with making more kind of vector style illustrations, and that's kind of how I landed on the style that I use right now. Yes, the job was great at Topman. I had kind of creative freedom to experiment with like illustration, different textures, and trying to kind of push the Topman brand to the next level. And after this, I kind of had a good few years at Topman, and then started a family and wanted to get out of the chaos of London. So moved up to Nottingham, and that's where I am today, up in uni days. So yeah, before I go, I just wanted to share kind of some of my top tips and top tools, but hopefully from seeing like my design journey there, you know, although it took me a long time to get to where I wanted to be, and there was definitely kind of a lot of blockers, but I learned a lot, and yeah, all the experiences have kind of shaped my career and the design that I do today. So yeah, I guess I'd just say to start with, don't worry about following that kind of traditional path or what other designers are doing, because everyone has their own way of getting there. And like there are definitely times, even today, where I get stuck in like a creative slump, and it can be a bit kind of disheartening. But I think if you've got like a creative vision or a strong idea, and you've got the drive to do it, then it kind of all falls into place from there. So yeah, I'm happy to like share these around afterwards, or if you want to take a picture or anything, go ahead. But yeah, the kind of tips I'd say is be authentic. So definitely create work that you're kind of proud of and that is meaningful to you. Expand your reach. So yeah, like I did, just put your work out there. Be like totally annoying and just pester people and keep pushing it. But there's also like loads of different sites like Behance, Dribble, and obviously you've got social media, and also just to get in touch with designers and companies on LinkedIn. I have a few people that have got in touch with me, and I'm always happy to answer any questions or give feedback, so that's definitely worth doing. And kind of off the back of that one, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Do what suits you and your work style. Go at your own pace, because there's some people that can just bust out hundreds of designs in one day, and some that take a lot longer. You can definitely see like some people posting every day on Instagram, for example, and some take a lot longer, but it's all about doing what's right for you, I think. So self-initiated projects. So yeah, any personal projects you want to set up are always like a good way to build your portfolio out. So just, yeah, use that Dribble that I spoke about, or just set yourself a fun brief. Mock-ups to strengthen your portfolio. I think in a portfolio, if you've got like a really strong or like a slick design ad, for example, just dropping that into like a bus stop ad mock-up really kind of elevates the visual and puts the whole design in situ, which I think is really good for a company to see. Don't be afraid to fail kind of speaks for itself, and hopefully some of the bits you've seen in my journey kind of tags onto that. And lastly, push yourself out of your comfort zone. So just be like bold with the work that you create. So how I got my job at uni days, the kind of second stage of the interview, they sent me a brief which was to using the theme of funfair to create a freshers campaign and create some of the lead deliverables for that. So I kind of hadn't heard of uni days at this stage. I went on the website and had a look what they were doing, and I'm sure they won't mind me saying that the designs were kind of very safe, because we've changed our branding since then. But at that stage, it was very much just kind of minimal shapes and patterns, and it was, yeah, this colours are totally safe. So I started mimicking that and kind of creating a project from that. But kind of halfway through creating that, it didn't kind of sit with me, and it wasn't what I was all about. So I decided to kind of scrap that, start again, and make it totally illustration based. So I created these kind of fun characters, really bright, bold colours. And when I took that to the creative director at the time, he said like that was one of the reasons they got me in for the interview, because he loved my illustration and wanted to inject some of that style into uni days. So I think that really kind of, I'm glad I kind of scrapped my initial design there and just went a bit bolder with it. And again, I just wanted to kind of end on a few of my top tools. These are kind of like my go-to websites in terms of like working on a project, getting inspiration, or just different sites that I use to kind of put my work out there. So Skillshare is really good for tutorials. Obviously, there's YouTube as well, the free one. But if you can get like a 3-month free subscription on Skillshare, it's definitely worth doing. I don't use it anymore because I'm a bit tight and don't want to pay for it, but I definitely used it I had a year subscription to it. Behance is really good for inspiration. That's my preference over Pinterest, because you can you can kind of build different mood boards in there, and you can see, rather than just seeing one design, you can see how that comes together as part of a whole project. Dribble, which I've mentioned loads of times, I'm a big fan of it. That's kind of my go-to for illustration inspiration, and I also use that as well to kind of post some of my work as well. Yeah, Ion Design is a great one for design articles, and Trendlist is a cool site for visual trends. I don't think it gets updated that often, so once you've been on it a few times, you kind of end up seeing the same thing, but it's a really good one to check out. Typepool was great for typography and kind of type pairings and upcoming type trends and that kind of thing. And lastly, there's a cool one that I've been using called Moving Poster, which is basically poster designs from all over the world that someone's gone in and like animated and made look crazy. So again, take a picture, or I'm happy to share these links around afterwards. And yeah, like I said, if you want to reach out to me afterwards, I've got LinkedIn and Instagram, so just give me a shout. But yeah, thanks very much for having me. And yeah, I think, is there Q&A now? Wicked. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Hello. Awesome. Thank you for that, Tommy. Much appreciated. So we'll open up for a Q&A section now. So has anyone got any kind of questions that they want regarding anything that Tommy's kind of chatted about today? While potentially you're thinking about that, because I know there's a lot of info that's been thrown your way, I can kick off with the one that probably quite a few people have gone through. Have you ever had creative block in terms of like briefs and design work? And if so, how have you got around that?
Yeah, I mean, I get that all the time. I'm kind of, like I said before, as a creative designer, I get to work on different campaigns, and they come thick and fast at uni days. The student calendar is jam-packed, as you guys know, so there's always things to design, and I'm always trying to kind of think of a different design idea each time, so the block definitely comes quite frequently. But yeah, things like I said before, just kind of like drawing, just getting my ideas out in my spare time, or some of those sites that I've just mentioned are always good to kind of give you that kind of that idea or boost in inspiration, for sure.
Awesome, perfect. I know you briefly mentioned there about sort of juggling quite a few things at once. Is that something you kind of get used to, or is the technique you use to kind of prioritize things?
Yeah, I think I just like to be busy with design work. I've got 2 kids as well, so it's very much like family, uni days, illustration. But yeah, I love it, and I just. But like I said, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. So if I want to do some illustration work, it doesn't have to be a full-blown project. It can just be like a little doodle in my sketchbook, just to kind of get that creativity out on the page. Sometimes helps me.
Awesome, brill. So has anyone got any questions that they've had a thought of in the last sort of minute or so? I can bully people for questions. We have one at the back.
I can hear. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Like, how does that affect like the graphic design you're working on? Because you said like you get more budget for some rather than others. Like, is it a time thing? Or?
Yeah, definitely. So for some of the big ones like Freshers and Student Woman of the Year, Christmas, those kind of things, the budget is higher. It comes from, when I say budget, it's like the budget that marketing have for the project. So that definitely comes into a timing thing. But I think mostly it's like effort versus reward. So not saying I don't put any effort in for the smaller ones, but you know, I put more into a kind of a bigger project because I have more timing than say like a small one-day campaign. I don't know if that answered your question. But
I'll go on myself just to ask more about your inspiration. So who got you into illustration? I saw a lot of Nickelodeon characters, but who would you draw inspiration from?
Yeah, I mean, I was a 90s kid, so like, yeah, love Nickelodeon and also skateboarding, so I used to just copy all the skateboard graphics and things. But in terms of artists, the one that kind of springs to mind, the first kind of illustrator I really got into was Mike Perry. I don't know if you know him. I think he's still going. But I saw his stuff and the work was great. And that, I think I got the, if you go back to kind of my old work where it was very kind of geometric and detailed, I think I kind of ripped some of his stuff a little bit there.
Hi, Tommy.
All right.
How much of your process is digital, or do you start more pencil and paper to start with? What's usual?
Yeah, so when I kind of picked up Adobe Illustrator whilst I was working at Topman, that kind of like opened up a whole new like world for me. So I still love to start pen to paper because I think that's just the way my brain knows how to get a creative idea down. Even like, doesn't have to necessarily be drawing, just like scribbling on. I prefer to type in. But yeah, definitely if I was doing like an illustration, I'd kind of get my sketchbook, lay it out, jot some ideas down, and then just take a picture on my phone, send it to my Mac, and then kind of either trace it digitally or just kind of copy it, depending on the design. But it's definitely, yeah, a little bit of both still, even though I use a lot more digital illustration at the minute.
Yeah, great, thank you.
I know you mentioned when you were at university that you struggled to balance your social life and your work life. Would you say that's like similar in just day-to-day working as a graphic designer, or is that just when you're in like an education environment?
Yeah, good question. I think definitely that's something I struggled with as I was younger. At the minute, since kind of COVID, I'm working from home, and I know as soon as I started working from home, the distractions kind of came back, nipping downstairs for a half an hour coffee, that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely got to have like a bit of discipline. But even now I kind of, slip up with my social work side. But I think back when I was at uni, that was, like I said, I think I was a little bit naive. I had my student loan and I just went a little bit wild. But you guys shouldn't do that, by the way.
Another question for myself. With obviously COVID being a big factor, do you find that working from home has stunted creativity, or is it something that you're finding quite comfortable now working from home?
Yeah, it definitely took me a while to adjust to it. Just not having that same kind of social interaction. We have like a Zoom call every morning to like kick things off and chat, which isn't really the same as kind of seeing people in the office, but it's definitely something that I've adapted to as well. And when we're working on these campaigns, we kind of, before it goes live, we present it back to marketing. So I would kind of present like this to you, to marketing when we're in the office, but at the minute it's through virtual. So yeah, that took a little bit of time as well to get used to. I don't really like talking to loads of heads on a screen with everyone kind of chipping in. But yeah, it's something I'm definitely used to now, but it took a little bit of time. But I do prefer to work from home and just nip into the office every now and again, because that just, it suits me and my life.
Do we have any other questions?
Like I said, people can always drop me a message. You can pass my details around. But yeah, if you think about something once you've left this room, feel free to get in touch.
Brill. Okay. Final question from me. It's the old classic. If you had the chance to work with any kind of designer or on any kind of brief for any company, what would you do? Where would you go?
I don't know if we're thinking about like my kind of dream situation. I don't think it would be with a designer or a company. I always had it in my head that one day I'd run like like an arts cafe. So like with people kind of creating art, screen printing, risograph printing, really good coffee, really good food, something like that. But that's probably never going to happen. But that is kind of my dream situation. I think, yeah.
Awesome, Brill. No, thank you for that. Has anyone got any sort of final questions before we sort of close off today?
Did anyone want me to pop those screens up to take a snap? I could do that if...
Yes, if we can do that.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, no problems.
So by all means, guys, grab a photo, write down some notes, anything you like. Tommy will be around for a little bit after he's finished his talk, so if you want to stick around and ask him any questions, that's more than fine by us. But yeah, thank you, Tommy, ever so much for that. It was a fantastic talk, some great design work in there.
Thank you.
And yeah, everyone loved it from the looks of it, so thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Thank you for coming. Brill, awesome.